I have news. So Clint and I are getting married. But you're not going to be my maid of honor. And Clint said he doesn't like you or your husband. They were the words of my best friend, Sophie, who I had been close with ever since we were babies. We were close, very close, despite the fact that we lived on opposite sides of the country. We maintained our friendship through regular texting, phone calls, and video chats. We spoke every day. Our friendship was a friendship that I thought would have lasted a lifetime. I thought we would grow old and one day, one of my kids would marry one of her kids. But boy, I was wrong. I'm older than Sophie by a year. I was always the poised, reserved, and careful friend. Sophie was strong, independent, and free-spirited. Even though we were polar opposites, our friendship flourished. Sophie encouraged me to live a little and get out of my comfort zone. I encouraged Sophie to be more careful about things. I often had to talk her out of crazy ideas she had. Ideas like quitting her job abruptly just because there were $200 plane tickets to Europe. We grew into adults and our friendship adjusted as we matured. One day, I met my now husband. As mine and my future husband's relationship grew, I made sure my friendship with Sophie didn't suffer as a result. When I got engaged, I made it clear to my fiancé that Sophie was my oldest and dearest friend. He respected that and even encouraged us to take yearly girls' trips together. One day, Sophie met Clint. She told me all about him, how kind and smart he was. I was excited for her. I cheered her on all the way from where I lived across the country. Sophie fell head over heels for Clint, but I quickly got worried. It was all moving so fast for them. The way Sophie was talking about her future didn't make sense. It wasn't the Sophie I had known for decades. The Sophie I knew had previously wanted a house in the mountains. She wanted a ton of kids and animals. She had wanted to travel. But this new Sophie, I hardly recognized her. This new Sophie was talking about small apartments in the city, not wanting kids, and even saying traveling was a waste of time and money. I pressed her about why she changed her mind. She said, "Clint doesn't like any of those things." I was shocked. I needed to meet this Clint guy. I had no idea who he was, and Sophie barely talked about the deeper facts of him, like what he was like, his hobbies, his goals, even what he did for work. It was all so suspicious. So, my husband and I booked a flight across the country specifically to meet him. We both had to take time off work, and we had to pay for a hotel and rented a car. It wasn't a cheap trip. When we arrived at Sophie's hometown, Sophie acted cool towards me. I purchased her favorite bottle of wine to give her as a gift, but she denied it. "I don't like that anymore," she said. "Since when?" I asked. "A long time now." I was so confused. Never once did she mention this to me. And we spoke every day. Clint soon arrived. I went to greet him and he brushed right past me and stood at Sophie's side. He didn't speak to me once, instead only addressed my husband. "So, what do you do for work?" he asked my husband. "I'm a lineman," my husband responded. "Is that full-time work?" Clint asked. "Yes," my husband responded. "What does your wife do?" Clint asked. Even though I was right there, "She's a real estate agent." "Oh." After that, Clint barely spoke to us. He went out to his car and brought back his handheld gaming device, sat down on the couch and played a video game. Meeting him wasn't going well. I turned to Sophie and asked, "What is going on?" "He's shy," she said. "Well, can we all go for a walk? Maybe go out to eat something?" I asked. "He doesn't want to," Sophie said before going to the couch to watch him play his game. There was nothing else for me to do, so I sat in the kitchen and watched YouTube videos on my phone. Briefly, Clint came into the kitchen for water. I looked up and smiled. He looked away. The weekend came and went, and I still knew nothing about Clint. Maybe he was super shy? Next time for sure would be a better experience. My husband and I returned home, and Sophie and I continued about our regular daily routine of talking to each other. One day, Sophie called me and said, "I have news. So Clint and I are getting married. But you're not going to be my maid of honor. And Clint said he doesn't like you or your husband." What? I was confused, heartbroken, and pained. I asked why she had come to the decision about me being maid of honor. She said it was easier with someone else since I lived so far. Okay, I understood that and was fine with it. But then I asked why Clint didn't like us. "I don't know. He said when he met you guys it wasn't good," she said. "Well, please apologize to him for us. But to be honest, he wasn't very nice to us to begin with," I said. "What do you mean?" she asked. "He didn't even say hello to us when he arrived? He ignored us after the first 5 minutes, and he sat on the couch playing a video game the entire time. My husband and I paid a lot of money to visit you and meet him. He could have at least shown some effort," I said firmly. "I get that, and I'm sorry. I will talk to him," she said. Her and I then began talking about her plans for a wedding. She wanted a quick engagement, only 2 months. My mind instantly began to worry about finances and work since I would have to take time off again to fly to her wedding, and not to mention pay for a bridesmaid's dress. So far, everything was going smoothly until the weekend of the wedding. I had my dress purchased, a hotel room reserved, and a car rental. My husband and I arrived 4 days prior to the wedding to help with wedding arrangements. My husband was invited out to dinner with Sophie's dad and brother, so I was alone in the hotel room. As I was settling in and getting ready to steam my bridesmaid's dress, there was a knock on the door. It was Clint. I was shocked. Why was he here? What did he want? "Will you please meet me in the hotel lobby? I need to talk to you," he said. "Okay, give me a few minutes and I'll be down," I said. I closed the door and immediately began to panic. My phone rang. It was Sophie. "Clint will be at your hotel shortly. He needs to speak to you regarding your behavior." I was angry. My behavior? What did I do? I just hung up on her and called my husband. My husband was furious. My husband told Sophie's dad and brother, and they too became angry. Why was this strange man wanting to talk to me about my behavior? He doesn't even know me. I was sweating and shaking, but I went down to the lobby. I sat down in a chair across from Clint. He proceeded to tell me that he believed I was a bad influence for his Sophie, that I abused her as a friend, that my closeness to her was wrong and immoral, that I behave loosely, and that I'm vulgar. I was sobbing and very much confused. Sophie was like my sister. We were close. She was my best friend. I never once abused her. What did I do to make him think I was vulgar? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did. I'm sorry. I just kept saying over and over again. He just kept going on about how he felt I was a bad person and that my true intentions were to ruin his wedding. At that point, I just started to ignore him. I felt about as big as a grain of sand. I sensed a shadow over me. I looked up to see Seth, Sophie's brother. "Where's my husband?" I asked Seth. "My dad has him outside in the car. He is very angry at Clint." "Frankly, I am angry too," Seth said. "I am entitled to my concerns about my wedding and my soon-to-be wife," Clint said. "I don't even know what I did," I said to Seth. "Well, what did she do, Clint? You can't yell at someone and not tell them what they did wrong," Seth said. "Her and her husband flaunt their lifestyle. They think they're better than the rest of us, not to mention the vulgar things you watch on your phone." "What?" I asked. I was so confused. It's true, my husband and I are slightly more well off than Clint, but my husband has a really good job, so do I. But we live simply and quietly. On your phone while you were in Sophie's kitchen. You were watching women in lingerie, he said. I began to rack my mind over what I had watched on my phone that day. I had been watching makeup tutorials. That was it. But then it dawned on me. We had visited Sophie around Christmas time. Victoria's Secret was running their Christmas advertisements. One played on my phone before the makeup video. Are you kidding me? It was an advertisement, I yelled. It doesn't matter. I'm sensitive to that kind of vulgarity. You shouldn't have even had it on your phone. Clint, you can't control advertisements on your phone, Seth said. Then you shouldn't be on a phone to begin with. Seth, you know my beliefs, Clint said. I was just sobbing at that point. Seth put both his hands on my shoulders and told me it was time to go. I went back to my hotel room and waited for my husband. The minutes ticked by so slowly before he came up. He and Clint have had words in the lobby. My husband almost punched Clint because Clint told my husband that he felt I was immoral and badly behaved. Soon, Sophie's dad and brother joined us. He stands by his judgment that you are immoral. I just started crying all over again while the guys talked. After Sophie's dad and brother left, I went to check my phone. I received a text message from Sophie. It read, "Based on your drama queen behavior tonight, Clint and I have decided that you are a danger to our wedding. We would prefer it if you would just attend as a guest." I was devastated. Drama queen behavior? All because I cried? My husband changed our airline tickets and we left immediately for the airport. My parents and rest of the family quickly found out what happened and took their wedding gifts back and quickly returned to their homes as well. In total, 30 people left Sophie's wedding, including another bridesmaid who protested about Clint's treatment of me. I left my bridesmaid dress in the hotel room, and I haven't spoken to Sophie since. She still married him.